All right, so another episode of the Itty Bitty podcast. We have our first comedian as a guest on the show. I guess I picked the right time to start doing Zoom podcasts because there is no comedy going on right now. And as a fan of comedy, I'm kind of bummed about that. I'm sure you're even more bummed about that. But Aaron Kleiber is here. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? We'll kind of get jumping off from there and we'll get this conversation.
Boom. Yeah, man. Hey, I'm a comedian. Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian and an actor, and I live in Pittsburgh, not New York and LA.
That's different.
Yeah, I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am a professional comedian and actor.
So how does that
blows
does everybody
people's
like
minds.
does everybody like pressure you to be like you gotta move to New York or LA? Or
Nah,
you just
that's.
like
I would say that there is a time in your career where you think that's where everyone's telling you that's the way it has to happen.
right.
I definitely went through that, and it just wasn't going to happen. When you have, like, we looked at going to LA when I had 2 kids, and at that time, I had enough cool things happen where I thought going to LA could be more beneficial, but it just came down to money. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just came down. I mean, dude, your wife and 2 kids, like, you can't just move to LA. So, a lot of people did at one point. You're like, you got to go. And they're not wrong,
Right.
but I decided to stay here and now have 3 kids with my wife. And, we have 4 grandparents here. It sounds like old ass dudes shit, but it's, but having that family around my kids, it meant the world. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the similar situation. I'm my first child is coming in July, so
Yeah, that's right.
probably your
Congrats.
special was awesome, but I'm like I kind of wish there was a little disclaimer because I watched it and I was just like, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, man. Am I scared straight?
I watched it and then I made my wife watch it again with me. I was like, all right, you have to watch this now because I watched it and it's given me anxiety. But it was an awesome special. I loved it. I don't want to give too much about it away.
That's all right.
But
You know what? I got to send you, I'll send you, I'm trying to not figure out, I know how, but I'm going to digitize my first album because it's just on DVD.
Oh, nice.
And I have some baby jokes on that and some way more baby jokes.
Yeah.
So when I had 2 kids, there's more jokes on there you'll get as a new dad.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I did that. The doctor appointment I went to today was more like, it wasn't really for me. It was more like my wife was like, we need to make sure that you're good because you have a child coming. So you have to go to the doctor and get poked and prodded and all that stuff. I mean, she's going through a lot worse. Yeah, she's going through a lot worse. So I can't really complain. But I'm excited. And, the way you joke about it and you make it really fun and a lot of the jokes that you tell are probably stuff that's true to your real life. But it's, for me, like, the amount of anxiety that I've had, like, that I never thought that I would have before, just from knowing that you've got a kid coming, it's like, I can't imagine once it gets to that level of, like, multiple children. So that's the plan down the road. But
it honestly, it gets harder and easier. I don't know how that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't think that your special is like, I think your special is for like anybody. I think, like, even if you're not going to be a parent or you're not a parent yet, I think it was like, I laughed my ass off the entire time. I was really happy when I was like, all right, let me check this out, because we had touched base on the internet. I forget where we initially talked. But like, a lot of times when you meet somebody that wants to do a podcast, they're like, yeah, I know how to do that, do this, and then you go and check out their stuff, and you're like, oh, this isn't good. So I was really surprised, and I was really happy that I found somebody. It worked out.
That it works both ways that way. So
yeah.
It's like it was. I've done a couple. I've guested on a ton of podcasts, and I've guested on a lot of my comedian friends' podcasts. And I just kind of was like, well, I'd love to just, like, I'm. I like all sorts of things. You know what I mean? Like, I can talk more about comedy, more than just about comedy. And so I was like, man, it'd be fun to get to, like, go do a podcast about, like, history or something like that, or, something I'm interested in, or, find some nerdy podcasts and talk about Star Wars for 5 hours, or, John Carpenter movies.
That's why I started a podcast. I'm like, I was working as a bartender. I worked in sales. I had a sales job that I made really good money at, but I fucking hated it. and I wasn't having conversations that I wanted to have. And I was like, well, if I'm having conversations, I want to have the conversations that I want to have.
Yeah.
So on this show, I try to do, you know, if there's something that interests me, like if I want to do a deep dive one week on the Wu-Tang Clan, I'll do the Wu-Tang Clan one week. I want to do like comedy, I'll do that. Yeah. The podcast actually started with, I got kicked out of my first Wu-Tang concert before the opener last year. I'd never been to Wu-Tang. I was so excited to go, and I got kicked out before the lights were still on, and I got kicked out. And I didn't even do anything that bad. I sparked up a joint before. Like, I was just so excited. I got in, and my wife was like, "You need to chill out," because we had a couple drinks, and she's like, "You should chill out. You're getting too excited." I wasn't doing anything obnoxious. I just literally sparked up a joint, and then 2 minutes later, somebody came up and tapped me on the shoulder. They were like, "You gotta go." I'm like, "What? You're not even giving me a warning?" So yeah, I got kicked out, and then I politely placed all the cones, everything that was outside. There was a cop outside, so I was pissed. But I knew if I would like flew off the handle, I'd get arrested. So there was like traffic cones, those stupid bikes that are everywhere in Seattle. So I was placing them, walking down the street, placing things on their side, like just pissed because I didn't want to smash it. So I was just place it politely down on the street and lay it down because I was so mad I got kicked out of the tent. So.
Yeah, you know, I will say your wife doesn't have to worry because when you have a kid, you're going to be like, I can't do stupid things anymore. Like, you think very differently about getting arrested. Like, I've talked about it at nauseum because I've had like 200 episodes of a podcast. But, like, you reach a point where, like, I used to be that dude where I'm like, man, fuck this place. Like, I'll fight. You know what I mean? Like, I'll fight whoever. Look at me. And but it's like you have a kid, you're like, yeah, no, you know what? I got to get home. Like, I got to keep my job for my family. Like, it's like your whole brain changes.
Right.
It does.
Yeah. I've started to kind of get to that point where, you know, I've unconsciously just started getting stuff ready. And a couple weeks ago, we had our older dog. He was probably 13 or 14, but he had to be put to sleep. And so after that, it was just like, okay, like, let's get to work cleaning because there's no dog here. There's no dog drool. So he was a geriatric dog. So he's like farting. And
it's actually, hey, you know what? So, that's going to be a blessing in disguise because.
No, that's what we talked about that. You know, it's like we've got a newborn and our dog was special. Like he was a pain in the ass. We loved him. He was an awesome dog, but he was just, we both knew that if we had a newborn, it was going to be a problem. So
yeah, it's so funny. I've seen friends have babies, their first child, and I'm like, do you guys still have a dog? And they're like, oh my God, we do. Where's our dog? Like they like their dog is like a roommate.
Completely forget about it. Yeah,
it's hilarious. I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we're going to get another dog, but we want to see, like, we're realistic about, you know, how this is going to go. We're both in our 30s. You know, we've got kind of everything the way we want it. And so we are realistic about it, but we know that, you know, we don't know what we're getting into. You know, it's a whole new experience.
It's a blast. So, you're going to have a good time.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to do all the fun, like, dad stuff. I'm having a girl for my first. I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, fuck. I'm pretty happy.
It's going to melt you to pieces.
I know, that's what I'm worried about. I'm just like,
it's gonna turn you into a big pile of mush, dude.
And the part, I don't want to spoil too much of your special.
That's all right.
Why don't we say the name of the special since we keep talking about it?
Oh yeah, Grown Ass Dad.
Grown Ass Dad, yeah. On Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can listen. You can listen on. You can buy it on iTunes. If you don't have Amazon Prime, you could rent it. God forbid you rent it. Or you could listen to it for free on Spotify and Pandora as well.
Yeah. So you said something about toys. That was like the one thing I was like, well, I love toys. Like, and so you can probably see some of my toys behind me. But the way I found a way around is you have to tell your wife that it's a side hustle. It's not a hobby. It's a side hustle.
Yeah.
So that's I don't buy. I don't. These aren't for me. These are to sell, you know.
Yeah, my room is covered in toys and movie posters and
So you said you've done a little bit of acting as well.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming comedy comes first.
But comedy always came first. Yeah.
So were you like somebody who was into acting when you were getting into comedy, or is it just kind of something you figured you would try out? Or it's
something that kind of believe it or not, I feel like I officially did acting first because I did like all the plays and musicals in high school, but I was always a cut up. Like I was class clown and, you know, and then in high school I started making like comedy and sketch videos and like winning awards making comedy videos like for high school and shit.
Right.
But yeah, it has always been a thing because I was a filmmaker first. So my buddy and I made our own movies and we acted in them. You know,
Nice.
I acted in all my sketches and, you know, in my videos and, you know, I was the first YouTube generation.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Well, yeah, you're in your 30s. So are you, you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy to, you know, it's crazy. I was just talking to like, you know, like my kids, you know, are like 9, 10 and, you know, like, I'm like, yeah, daddy had 1 million views on YouTube in 2008. And they're like, what? They're like, how did you have YouTube? You know,
Yeah.
like it's, but no, but yeah, that it's always been hand in hand because my whole life, I feel like now that I've like, you know, talked about this enough where I think the whole time I always wanted to be, you know, I always wanted to be, you know, Bill Murray. I always wanted to be John Belushi. You know, I wanted to be Martin Lawrence. You know, I wanted to be on In Living Color on Saturday Night Live. Like I was obsessed with that. And, so it kind of like comedy was mostly for me was sketch comedy and improv and like any of the funny videos or movies I was making. So I kind of started that. Stand up is the last thing I did, which is crazy.
Really?
Like I had an acting resume before I even started stand up. The year I started in 2009, I started stand up in 2009, and that year I was in my 2 first big movies. It was an ABC family movie and a movie Warrior by Lionsgate. So that like all in 2009, and that was the summer I started stand up too.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so it was like it and I was already like before 2009 I made 2 of my own independent films that went all over, you know, the country and won film festivals and so and then like making all the sketches and I was, you know, sketch comedy, improv groups, all that. And then stand up just kind of fell out of nowhere. It just like, it was a thing where I lost my comedy partner that I was doing improv and sketch with right after I was going back and forth to Second City, Chicago. And, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I want to be on Saturday Night Live, but you know, my wife wanted to have a house and a baby. So I was like, yeah. I mean, my wife was my wife. I've been with my wife since I was 19. And since I was 19, you know, between 19 and 28, in the 9 years I was with my wife, you know, she put up with, you know, me making 2 independent films, driving back and forth to Chicago to take classes, hanging out with my, you know, buddies, making comedy sketches on the weekends. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So by the time she wants a house and a baby, I'm like, yeah, that's okay. You're due. You know, you should be allowed to have a dream too. And that's what kind of made me stay a little bit. But it's also at the same exact time I lost my comedy partner. He had tragedy in his life, and he lost 2 of his brothers, and the same day that I knew since they were babies, and so I was kind of like alone. Like I had a filmmaking partner. Him and I kind of moved in different directions, like working on separate things. Right. You know, I was more of a performer. I wanted to be more of a performer and actor. And my partner, Chris, that I made, people can look it up, whatever. I made a movie called Captain Blasto and a movie called A Great Disturbance, if you like Star Wars, and comic books. That's both of them. But like, you know, he went to directing and write, like he's since wrote stuff for like sci-fi and, you know, so really, like, you know, I didn't know what else to do. I was going to, you know, do sketch and improv with my partner and, you know, and so I had a friend, my buddy is a comedian named Frank Nicotero. He's originally from here. His dad's an actor. And he's just like this legendary actor from Pittsburgh who's done everything. He's any movie that films around Pittsburgh, his dad would show up in it, you know, with like 5 lines, like, you know. So he was in my first independent film, Sam Nicotero, and I was doing Whose Line Is It Anyway on a riverboat cruise. Okay, yeah, like on a riverboat casino boat. Oh my God, yeah. Times are tough back in, you know, when you're getting started. So I
feel like that's a good learning. It's a good story too.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just the hustle makes you who you are.
Right.
But yeah, I was doing Whose Line Is It Anyway? And Sam and his family came. It was over the holidays, and his son is a stand-up comic in LA. And, he does warm up for like America's Got Talent, X Factor, The Voice, like all these. He basically goes out for a half an hour and makes the crowd laugh, and they're all excited. Like that's warm up. It's crazy.
Right.
It's a hard thing to do. But so he's like, hey, you should do stand up. And it was the only thing, like I was acting in independent films, and, I was doing sketch comedy. I was doing improv for years. I did improv in front of kids at camps and shit like that. And like, hundreds of kids. So I just did everything but stand up. And I was like, I loved stand up growing up. I was obsessed with Martin Lawrence when I was in middle school here and talking shit on HBO. Like I was obsessed with that, discovering like, listening to Bill Cosby, God rest his soul. He's dead. Just listening to stand up, like that's all I knew. I never knew that like I could go on stage and tell jokes. And, this comic, Frank, he's like, yeah, you can do it. He goes, tell you what, I'm headlining at the club next week. Why don't you come by and do 5 minutes? And I was like, I'm not a stand-up. Like I don't even know what that is.
Right.
And so I just gave it my best shot, and it was like, okay. And they were like, hey, why don't you come back next week? And I did it a couple more times. And then I got cast in these 2 first movies in the spring of 2009. And so I was filming for a month, and then a week later I was filming for 3 months on another movie. It was the first big thing. It was crazy. So right after that, I actually, talked to a couple other people while I was filming. A guy named Brian Callen. He's people now know him. He's always on Rogan's podcast, but he was on Mad TV. He was in all the Hangovers.
Yeah, I remember him from Mad TV.
Yeah,
and
he actually played the Joe Rogan fight character in Warrior.
Oh, nice.
He played the comedian commentator in Warrior.
That sounds familiar. Send me some links and I'll take a look, because I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
The
like
movie?
Now that you're saying it with Brian Callen, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Warrior was like, Nick Nolte got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for it. It was Tom Hardy and Joe Edgerton were brothers who were UFC fighters.
I feel like I've seen
it. Yeah. I got cut out of it almost completely, so it's neither here nor there.
Don't even worry about it.
So great. That's a whole nother podcast.
So was it like one of those things when you first did stand-up, was it like, oh, this feels right? Or was it like, that was kind of awkward?
Yeah, that's exactly, when I did it a couple times before I did those movies, it felt really weird. It felt like I was doing an impression of a comedian. But why I brought up, I was like, guys, my baby's crazy. It just felt like weird. I was like, how am I supposed to be? Yeah. And when I met Brian Callen, he's a stand-up and he's a trained actor. And, he's like, you're an improviser. He goes, you need to do that on your stand-up. Like he was like, what do you want to talk about? Your baby's diapers being like really messy? He's like, okay, like whatever. It sounds dumb, but he's like, just go up and talk as long as you can about that.
Right.
Like go improvise. And that like it blew my mind. Like when I got off of set and got back home, there was an open micer that was an extra on the movie. And he's like, hey, he goes, you're from Pittsburgh. He's like, do you want to do stand-up like at a show? And I'm like, okay. Like, cause I was talking about stand-up. So my 5th show ever was a 15-minute paid set.
Oh, nice.
So I did open mic 4 times. And then my 5th time on stage, I did an 18-minute set and got paid like $20. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't even know how to do this.
Did you get like a big head after that? Or you were like, oh, this is easy?
No, it's because I've been in the arts for a while, you know what I mean? So no, I mean, it was just trying to figure it out. And, I started going to open mics and going to guest sets at the major comedy club. And I was working there in about 4 months. It was crazy. So when they're like, okay, you do 20 minutes and we'll give you $100. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do that.
Right.
And I never looked back.
So
I just kept going.
We'll get off the comedy train
Yeah.
for a minute here.
Let's talk about whatever.
I wanted to ask you, so are you a Steelers fan then, since you're Pittsburgh, or are you not a sports
You
fan?
know, I'm now just a hockey fan.
So
I played hockey
Penguins?
a lot of my life. Yeah, the Penguins. Yeah,
Penguins.
Pittsburgh
They
Penguins.
still have Sidney
I-
Crosby? It's been a
Yeah, they
while
do,
since I've
yeah.
watched hockey.
Yeah. I know, me too.
I'm technically a Bruins fan, but like
Right.
it's been so
Okay.
long because I've been on the West Coast, so it's hard to catch all the games.
Right, sure.
But I'm on
Yeah, hockey's
Washington.
not fun to watch on the West Coast. I've been to games in LA and and Anaheim, and
I
it's
saw
just
the
like,
Bruins play the Kings at in LA.
cool.
When I lived in LA for a few years. That's where I met my wife, and we went and saw
cool.
the Bruins play the Kings. And I remember I was outside smoking a joint, and I ran into Slane, who was like a Boston rapper. He was in. Have you ever seen the movie The Town?
Yeah.
He was the guy who drove the ambulance. I think that his name was like Albert McGlone or some shit.
Okay.
And so
okay, yeah.
nobody else knew who he was. He was just standing out there, and I was like, I'm from Boston, so he's like a big deal. So I went up. I'm like,
Right.
Hey. He took a picture with me. He was all cool. My
That's
buddy
funny.
had a Kings jersey on. He was like, he asked him for a picture. Of course, he didn't know who he was. So he takes a picture with the guy, and the guy's flipping him off in the picture. He's just like, so that was a cool little hockey story. But yeah, hockey is awesome. They've got, I'm out in Washington here, and they've got a team coming to Seattle. I think we're going to be moved out of Washington by then, but I think next year they're getting a team out here. So that's starting to slowly, but yeah, it's not too big as far as other sports go.
I people ask that question a lot, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think on a podcast it's easier to talk about because like after a show in public, face to face with somebody, it's really weird to explain to somebody that you gave up football. So,
what do you mean you gave up football though?
Well, I can answer this.
I guess there we go.
I feel more comfortable answering this sitting there, even though you have a backwards NFL hat on.
Oh, it's 100% fine.
Yeah. Well, no, I honestly, it was a couple different things. I mean, because like all the time after shows, people are like, "You're from Pittsburgh? Are you Steelers fan?"
Steelers, yeah.
Because they want me to like be like, "Yeah, I am," and headbutt them and shit. You know what I mean? But like, I really, I love football. I didn't do much growing up. I played. I kicked for a little bit. But no. I love football. And I guess the older I got, you just start to like notice certain things. And one of the things in my life that like is important to me is like domestic violence awareness. And along with that, and along with a lot of other things going on in the NFL, for instance, like, the players' behavior, when, they're suspending people for a whole season for marijuana, for a plant that grows out of the ground, for smoking cannabis, but then a guy beats his wife senseless and, they slap him on the wrist and he misses a game. I mean, It's crazy. I mean, I really feel like out of all the major sports, I think the NFL is the one that really does not care about the human beings more. I don't think they care. I mean, it's such a money machine. And I also, there's a couple different things that contributed to it. It just happened to be in like the same year, there was just that. There was a lot of that domestic violence issues and player issues, and just seeing it as this. It's really hard to. I mean, are you from Boston?
Originally, yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts.
So you know fandom,
right?
So
you
notice
a little bit of a sports town.
Yeah, I don't mention Seattle, so I'm trying to relate. So yeah, you've been in Boston during the playoffs, and
right.
There's a point, man, where you're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like I love sports, but like when grown men are wearing Steelers jerseys at church on a Sunday in July, I'm like, what? Like when so many people, it's their only identity.
Yeah.
It's kind of like.
I used to be super into it, but I've kind of calmed down for that reason. Yeah.
I've also never been a kind of guy to like wear jerseys and seek autographs, and you know what I mean? I've always, not that like, and I don't want to sound like I'm better than anybody and I'm shitting on it. Like it's just a thing where it was multiple things. It was also, this is all within the same couple, like maybe 2 years, the concussion issues.
That's the one that's been for me, see, I grew up, I played football when I started playing, I think I was 10. And I played from 10 to 18. I never went on to play in college, but I did take a lot of big hits. And then you start watching football as you get older, and you start seeing how like the hits get bigger and bigger, and it's harder to watch as I've gotten older. I still watch football, regularly, but I remember there was some game where some guy got tackled and his leg broke in like 4 different places.
Yeah.
And after seeing that, I'm like, oh, that's possible when you're watching a sports game. You don't think about that stuff. And so, I could see how that can affect people. Like if you're trying to watch it, you're just like, I could constantly.
I mean, for me, it was like it was the stories of the older players and retired players, and the movie Concussion that was actually filmed in Pittsburgh, and centered around an old Pittsburgh Steeler. So we know the story well. Just it's not about watching the whatever, man. Like, I don't think there's anything you can do to like make football like not less contact. That's the sport. Like that's what it is. My thing is that, and people say, well, they choose that. Of course they do. Of course.
It's crazy how many young kids you'll be like, if you tell them like, this is what's going to happen, like these are the effects, and they're like, I don't give a shit.
Kids don't know.
Give me that bag. Give me that bag.
Don't know. Yeah, kids don't know. What are you talking about? Even when you're a senior in high school, you don't care.
Right.
You don't
care.
You're
just like, whatever. Just give me the money.
Care. Yeah. It's, but like, I'm not saying that like the NFL, like no tackling flag or I don't care. I think they should let them use steroids. Let them do whatever they want. You know what I mean? If they want
like NFL blitz style.
Dude, listen, man, it's their choice.
Yeah.
Listen, you want to talk about choice.
Right.
I mean, let them take steroids. Let them, you know what I mean? Let them get 100 million. Let them do what they want. You know what I mean? What I mean is that when you see the NFL completely abandon their players, and these guys are poor, hawking autographs at flea markets to pay.
And they don't get like any type of benefits or anything after that either. I think. Yeah, and people will say
non-profit company. Non-profit company.
And people will make the argument that they made a lot, but it's like if you actually look at something like a lineman, you're an offensive lineman, you're not making what a wide receiver made. Like you're gonna make, and you have to remember that you're making that money in a short span of time. So some people are going to be good with their money, but like not everybody's good with their money.
And most of the time, the guys that are hurt the most are the guys that got paid the least.
Right. And I'm sure their brains aren't working that great to be like, oh
I've heard terrible stories. There's a lot of old Steelers around Pittsburgh. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in quite a few, fundraisers and I've met some of these guys and they're beat up, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes these guys, they don't know where they're at, you know?
It's just funny when you see like NFL players. I think it was like Heath Evans or something. He was on a podcast talking and the issue of concussions came up and he's just like, nah, that's not true. Like I know a bunch of different people and it's just like, I don't see any way that it can't not be true. Like your brain is in your head and you're sloshing your brain around.
He's being a good league boy. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not one of those. I was a huge, I was diehard football fan. Like my mood would be affected if the team lost. And it got to the point where I was just like, this is not something that you should be doing. And then I think it was a couple years ago when the Patriots played the Eagles, we had to put my other dog down that day. So it was like the day the Patriots lost, we had to put my dog down the same day. And it was kind of like this thing clicked in my head where I was just like, it's just fucking sports. Like I'll watch football. It's so at the end of the day, I'm not like, and for people that get so riled up, like people are like, aren't you pissed that Tom Brady left the Patriots? Like, no, I have Buccaneers shit. I don't care.
I mean, honestly, like, look, I agree. Like, if someone said, oh, well, Sidney Crosby getting traded, I'm like, damn it. You know what I mean?
I'm not a Sidney Crosby fan, by the way.
Yeah, well, you should be. The best of all time.
He's a beast. I just, as a Bruins fan, I just can't be a fan.
Would you trade him for oh my gosh, I just went brain dead. I haven't seen hockey in so long. Who is it? Bergeron? Who's your boy?
Oh, Patrice Bergeron? No.
Yeah, you would. You're a liar. You're a liar.
Are we talking Bergeron in his prime? Or I mean, Sidney Crosby is a beast. But
Sidney Crosby's been in his prime for 10 years.
But I've seen Bergeron, just the amount of like.
I've seen him.
I'm not talking about his playing ability. I'm talking about like his just ability to tough it out and like elevate the players around him. But I don't know. Sidney Crosby is an absolute
You should watch more
beast.
Penguins.
I need to. Yeah, I need to.
Dude,
yeah.
he's one of the few players I've seen, and I think Connor McDavid does it, and I think Ovechkin does it, and I think Crosby does it. Is that you have guys who on any other team would be third line wingers getting 30 goals a year. The only other people who have done that is like Gretzky, Lemieux, Ovechkin, maybe Yzerman. There's like not even 10 people that can do that in history. It's pretty.
No, I'm not. I'm like
David too. He's gonna be giving people goals for the rest of their careers.
Yeah, I'm not a salty sports fan. Like
No,
I just like busting balls, and I just remember I remember Sidney Crosby like destroying us at some point. So that's why I'm probably
of course I get it. Just as long as you're not from Philly, I couldn't have a conversation about hockey. I just couldn't.
So you hate the Flyers or what?
Yeah, it's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
It's just it's a fun statewide rivalry. It's fun.
It's weird because when I lived in Massachusetts, like most people knew about sports. They kind of knew what was going on. You could have a conversation with people. Now, when I live in Seattle, it's like people are very passionate about the Seahawks, but they don't know anything about anything. So they'll try to start shit with you. I was going to tailgate. I had to drop some friends off at the airport. And so we had friends tailgated for a Seahawks game. They're like, stop by, hang out, have a couple drinks, have some food. So it was cold out. And I was like, I'm not wearing any Patriots stuff. The Patriots were playing that day. We're going to go watch the game. But I'm like, I'm not wearing anything. I had a winter hat. That was it. I was like, I'm just going to wear this one hat. I don't wear any other Patriots stuff. I don't want anybody to start shit with me. And they were playing the 49ers, which was a division game. I got more shit than I saw 49ers fans walking around in full 49ers gear. And I had one Patriots hat on. They were giving me more shit than anybody else had ever taken. I'm like, you guys are playing that team right now. And you're giving me shit. I'm just trying to keep my head cold.
Listen, I got to one up you, okay? I'm gonna because you think walking around a football game with a hat on is bad, okay? Perry, there are at least 6 cities in America where I cannot tell the audience that I'm from Pittsburgh. Okay?
Really?
If I go to Philly, anywhere near Baltimore or DC, Cleveland, Cincinnati, anywhere in New England, okay?
Just because of sports?
Just because of sports.
Oh my God.
And I want to put that for another reason why I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because, dude, there has been so many times where they'll be like, all right, your next comedian, you're going to love him. He's been on this. You've seen him on this. Like impressive things. And then they'll go from Pittsburgh and straight up boo me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I got to get up there. And I'm like, really? You boo a city because I was born there? And grown men throw a ball at each other? Like, are you kidding me? I think it's so, like, asinine and, like, caveman shit. It's so ridiculous. And it made me so mad. So I would tell people, like, don't say it from Pittsburgh. I don't even want to rip on your city.
Right. Just say that he's here from America.
Oh, dude. I mean, and I know people that travel and, like, from Pittsburgh. I mean, dude, I'll wear a Penguins hat in an airport. You know what I mean? A lot of times I'll wear a Penguins hat in an airport, because I'm always wearing a hat in the airport. And, like, someone will be like, fuck Pittsburgh. I'm like,
right. Well, like, think about that guy who, like, I don't think he died, but he got beat almost to the point where he died, or he did die in, was it L.A.?
Right.
Like Dodger Stadium. He was wearing
crazy.
Giants gear, and they
crazy
beat the shit out of him. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's not gangs. What is it? It's not ancient Rome. What is this?
It's a gang. I know if you go to some places, though, like you'll go to some bars, and I mean, my bar days are far from over, but you'll see no gang colors, no bandanas, no jerseys. It's like there's a reason for that, because people
absolutely.
act like fucking idiots.
Because it's a reason. But I mean, like, and I want to say that is one of the, like, that is another silly thing in the column I could put where I don't care about the NFL anymore. But, like, there's also, like, there was a thing I just want to clarify, because people are going to be like, fuck this fucking pussy. Okay. I legitimately.
I tell all those people to fuck off. I don't.
Yeah, dude. Okay, you want to hear? Okay, I talk in Post-it notes. Sorry. I need some afternoon medicine. Hold on. I had a guy one time after a show. He was like, "Hey," I don't remember where I was. He was like, "Hey, you Steelers fan? You a football fan, buddy?" And I was like, "Nah." He goes, "What are you, gay?" And I was like, What?
Because I don't like to watch guys in tight pants run around.
I know. I was like, do you know what you're even saying? Like whatever, man. You have another man's name on your back right now, so
yeah.
Like I don't like it's the dumbest thing to even say.
It is if you think about that. Like I'm a jersey. I don't wear jerseys too often. I have a couple jerseys.
I have quite a few, and I don't wear them anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
I only wear them if I ever play.
If I'm going out to like a game, if I'm going to watch a game,
yeah, that's the only time
I'll do it. But like,
I'll wear a hockey jersey to a game for sure.
It's just, but yeah, it's to the point now where you just, if you think about it, you're wearing another dude's name on your back.
All I'm saying is
all you need is a little property of on the top, and you'll be
right. I know. And then, hey, wear jerseys. It's cool. Like, but don't give nobody a hard time about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's.
I think the only jersey that should be acceptable when you're in your 30s is like a food jersey from back in the day.
Yeah, throwbacks. Yeah, if you're walking around with like a secondary player from currently on your team, you're a dork. You're a dork. If you're buying the new player's jersey, you're a dork. Come on. Yeah. Look, if it's like if you're wearing a player, you know, from your city that's like Hall of Famer, championship player, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk around in a Ray Bork jersey, follow your dreams. You know what I mean? Like that's acceptable.
Two Patriots jerseys I have are Gronk and Tom Brady. So that worked out
okay. All right.
That worked very well.
Oh, what was I gonna say? Sorry, I wanted to fill in more of my facts so people think I'm not just like. The other thing was there was this guy that was fired by ESPN because he wrote this kind of article about how it was right after the Ray Rice thing happened. With his girlfriend, and they were like, well, if you think the NFL covered this up, you should see what they shoved under the rug in the last 5 years. So this dude who wrote for ESPN, he dug out all these things that didn't make the news. And it was, I think it was about 35 or like close to 40 incidences of domestic violence, drug use, guns. I mean, like DUIs, and I'm talking coaches, players, and it was, you don't know what I'm talking about because it was buried. But this guy came out with this article. He was fired by ESPN, and he put it out on what's the, like, it's a sports blog. It's really famous. Shoot, I can't forget. I think it was on Deadspin, actually.
Deadspin?
I think. But yeah, he was like, well, this is what ESPN fired me for wanting to write. And it just, after like, it just like, I was like, these motherfuckers. I was like, this is crazy. And then the Colin Kaepernick bullshit. I'm like, you guys have no spine of integrity. It's silly.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know. I mean,
stand up for something. The only thing, they're a nonprofit who stands up for billionaires. That's it. So
yeah,
whatever.
That was like one of the things that annoyed me. Not the most, but it was just like it started to create like this tension when they had that whole Colin Kaepernick thing, and you could like feel it when you would talk about people in sports. It was just like normal conversations. Like when I was working sales, that was just something that you could talk about to pass the time. With sports, everybody, you know, most people.
And then it's immediately two people judging each other, going, "So which side are you on?"
Yeah, and it would immediately then it would go to, well, I don't watch that anymore, and then it's like, okay, like. And but then they don't do anything. They want to shove patriotism down your throat, this fake patriotism down your throat. And then when troops come back, they don't do shit for them. Like my mom worked in the VA for years, and it was just like I would hear horror stories. Friends that I have that have to go through the system, and it's like, but make sure you stand for the flag. Otherwise, it is
such man, I don't want to get all deep on it and like depress people and act like I know something, but it's just. It's one of those things where I feel like, you know, you just start to open your eyes to like, you know, look, the billionaires don't care about you, man. Like, like they don't like, they put the flag up, make you feel happy, and they put a beer in your hand. Like, dude.
Well, it's just like when they flew the jets over for the frontline people. My wife's a nurse. I'm like, did that help you all at all? Would you prefer them do that or give you guys more protective gear? She's like, that
costs
stupid. That's waving keys.
That cost $50 million. Why you could have literally built another hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, But listen, not everybody, sometimes people need, did you say this already? People need keys waved in their face.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I was gonna say. It's basically key, like
Yeah.
you're shaving keys.
There's a lot of people that go,
like,
"Are you hungry? Oh yeah. Oh, come here. Stimulus
Yeah.
check. I'll be fine."
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's I hate this be cliche, but get woke. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, I feel
things
like
aren't what they
with
seem.
everything that's going on, so I guess it's a good time to switch gears because I was going to ask you
Sure.
what you think is going to come back first. Do you think sports or like comedy and music events are going to come back, or do you see it all coming back at the same time?
I mean, from what we were just talking about, I think we've answered already. Sports is going to come back, baby, because that is
Right.
the billion-dollar industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how in the beginning, how I was trying to explain to people that it was real. When the NCAA went away, shit is real.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I remember the day like NBA, because I've been buying
Yep.
and selling trading cards, and like that
Right.
news popped up that the NBA season was done.
Yeah.
That was when it was like,
oh,
wow.
it's yeah. When major sports started canceling, you're like, okay, this is serious. And I think they're going to be the ones that are coming back. I mean, they're already figuring out how to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know comedy is trying to figure it out.
Right.
I know all the clubs that I play. I know the managers. I've texted some of them, and they're trying to open up at a certain capacity. And same with music venues, especially the ones that I've worked with a lot in the past. Done comedy and music venues. The big problem is the people, from what I understand, that are going to survive are the people that have the coffers, the people that have that money, the big chains.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, I'm looking at like my home club and the chain of like improv comedy clubs. I know Seattle has like Helium, like some of those bigger chains, or Portland Helium. Some of those bigger chains I think might be okay. But even still, I don't think they're going to be okay for, I mean, I don't think you could have as much money as you want, but you can't operate at 25, 50%, in a room for 300. And these small venues, they can't have shows in, venues for 100 people. You can't put 40 people in a venue for 100. It's still packed. You know what I mean? So, I really think I think comedy and music is going to get hit pretty hard. I think live performing is going to get hit probably some of the worst.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I do, and that's why I've parlayed everything. Like I mean, Friday nights I do a live happy hour with comedian guests and just cut up and have like a late show type of thing. I
was gonna say, I know the's like a lot of people who are getting really creative, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah, I've done everything
you wouldn't
I could
necessarily get.
Yeah.
And I've heard, I haven't seen any of these, but I've heard that some comedians have been doing like material in Zoom meetings.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how
Zoom
that
shows.
would go.
Zoom shows.
How do you feel about that? That kind of makes me cringe thinking about.
I've done a couple, and look, I mean, comedy feels like comedy a little bit. You know what I mean? It's fun to go and do material, and I mean, so these Zoom comedy shows, what it is, I mean, if you want to go hang out and do one or go watch one, go do it. I mean, it's still fun, that you can find fun out of it. I will say it takes a certain type of comic, it's, you're going to have to be able to like adapt and talk to, because really doing Zoom comedy, you go on gallery view on Zoom and you basically, everyone unmutes themselves and agrees to just laugh and not bother you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing jokes, and then everyone like ha 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 ha. It's like robots laughing in little boxes. It's crazy.
The commercials that have been going on constantly make me like nervous because they keep saying, "Welcome to your new normal. Welcome to your new normal." I'm like, well, wait, why are you spending this much money on advertising if we're supposed to be on the other end of this and supposed to be coming out of this? Like, why are you continuing to tell us new normal?
Because no one knows.
Yeah,
no one knows.
No one knows. Insane.
No one knows. I mean, I don't want to get into all that. You know what I mean? I could talk at exhaustion, and I already am not like, I don't look at Facebook. I don't care what people think. I just know that when I look at my business, I say it in this way. This isn't my opinion. This is my business. This is my, I run a small business. You know what I mean? My small business is like, I sell jokes all over the continent. You know what I mean? And for me, I I'm going to go look at business. Like, I'm going to go look at advice of experts to try to understand what my business is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we're going to be back until next year.
Yeah.
In the research I've done for my business, lots of really, really smart people say that this is going to come back.
Yeah. That's what I've been hearing.
And I think it might. I think 9 out of 10 really smart people say it's going to be back in August, September, October. So,
yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
That's, and what, I don't have all those degrees. So,
right.
And that's unfortunate, which is why, like, people are doing the Zoom comedy shows. I'm doing this live happy hour. I did 50 days of like a dad vlog. I just ended today. I'm ramping up my podcast. Like, so now I've always done live guests, but with like Zoom and the way, record now, I've always liked to sit in a room with people, but now I can just call like any of my comedian celebrity friends, like, and just do that,
Yeah.
and it's, I'm like, oh, I can call tons of people now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that it really opened it up, to do some different things, and just hoping that, that works and more people watch, and I don't think I'm going to be on stage in front of an audience anytime soon.
So since that's kind of depressing, let's talk about music a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
So you're a hip hop fan?
What time is it? Oh, 5:03. Okay.
Yeah. Let me know if you gotta go.
Maybe a little after 3. I'm good.
Okay.
So
what have you been?
15 minutes, 10 minutes.
What you've been listening to for hip hop lately?
I was just talking to my friend about this lately, is that I've lost that ability to like just name and cite everything.
I can't do it.
I can't do it anymore.
I have too much information coming in and out of my brain.
Digital music now, it's just playing.
I do a playlist and I update it on Mondays and Fridays. And so every Friday, new music comes out. And so I'm constantly like, new music in, new music in, new music in.
Yeah, I'm
trying to remember. It's crazy.
So I listen to a lot of just like, like I listen through Amazon Music and Spotify. So I'll just listen to suggested playlists, and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't heard this in forever, and I'll just put it in a playlist. So now one of my favorite playlists that popped up on Spotify. Spotify has the most creative playlists. I would say out of all the playlists that have been curated, I like Spotify's the most. And you can listen to my comedy on Spotify and my podcast. But anyway, there was a new playlist called Jazz Hip Hop.
Jazz Hip Hop.
And I was like, what? Okay. And it was all what you thought. It was, it was Tribe, it was Q-Tip, it's a little Slum Village. So that's what I've been vibing like all week. And I now always listen to that, that vibe if I want to listen to hip hop.
If you like that chill stuff, the album just came out today. I've been screaming this dude's name for a while now, but Coda, Kota, Coda the Friend.
Oh yeah.
But he just had a new album come out. I listened to it today, and it's got like those jazzy beats and like.
I have heard of him. Yeah,
he's really good. I like that stuff a lot. Hip hop, I don't know. I meet a lot of people that like. As you get older, I think people will appreciate hip hop more when you go back and you listen to like the older stuff and the storytelling. And it's just, I think you can still find good hip hop today. You just have to look, and part of the fun is
absolutely
like searching for it. So that's just
and that's the thing too. Like, I'm not as hungry as I was when I was younger, because like I said, most of the stuff that I was super hungry for in it was in the 90s and 2000s, which I DJ'd in the 2000s, and it was butt. Hip hop was butt. I mean, you could find the
early 2000s. They had some good stuff back then.
I mean, you can name them on one hand, maybe. I mean, Outkast. Snoop had a couple things. Nas, Jay-Z. There were still those. That was the era of those greats, but there was not, even now. I mean, there's good stuff too, but I feel like we're kind of in the disco of hip hop right now.
Really? I think it's the opposite. I
think it's been for a couple years, and I think we're climbing out of it. But
for me, it's like when other music, and I've said this before on the podcast, but when other music tries to reinvent itself, it always seems to go through hip hop. Like if you look at rock, and it's like, oh well, how are we going to reintroduce ourselves? Then you get Limp Bizkit, and they come out with rap metal.
Oh yeah,
and then
absolutely.
You've got like country. Think of like Blanco Brown and what's that other dude's name?
Kid Rock did it in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's just then so
Right.
when they people need to reinvent themselves, they use hip hop. Whereas hip hop, I feel like has almost evolved throughout the years. If you listen to Sugar Hill Gang back in the day, and then you go even just a couple years further into like Run DMC, and then you just keep going a little bit further to Nas and Tupac and all that stuff. It changes and evolves as it gets older and older. And
Sure.
I think that I don't know. I don't see it going away anytime soon. It's like the most popular music on the planet right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean that might just be my bias because I love hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I think there hasn't been as great things. I mean, maybe I just don't like the style of more of like mumble rap, even though I do very much enjoy a lot of Future, which they say he's the mumble king, but
I'm not big on mumble rap. I'm not.
No.
I like things like Earth Gang. I like Code as a Friend. Earth Gang, I think, is going to be huge. They're like the next Outkast.
I'm talking about like there's a lot of like Tekashi should not exist.
Tekashi, especially after the whole the way everything went down.
Like shit like that should not exist. You know what I mean? But like, dude, Travis Scott's Astroworld, it's one of the best best albums I've heard in a decade.
Yeah,
so good. Loved it.
Do your kids like your music?
Well, I'm trying to think. Like my kids have heard selections of like some stuff, like they can listen to some Beastie Boys. I'll play some Beastie Boys for them. They're like one of my favorites. Mostly now, like my wife has, my wife and I have been together forever, and so like she loves any kind of chill trip hop. She'll listen to chill, electronic, when she's cleaning or cooking. And so now like my kids are totally into that because that's a music that we can play all the time. You'll see with kids, you're like, oh, I can't play Rage while I'm washing the car because I have a 5-year-old here. You know what I mean? It's like daddy can't listen to Wu-Tang anymore when he's in the yard, but now they're into chill. They're into like electronica, we'll play some of, instrumentals. I mean, the 11-year-old daughter loves Jay Dilla instrumentals. You know what I mean?
Oh, really? That's a really obscure like pull for a kid.
But it's because she got into instrumentals and like I beatbox a little bit, so I've always beatboxed with my kids, and so like that's been kind of a thing. So now my daughter like is on GarageBand like making like dope beats. Like literally, I've used them on my podcast. Like it's crazy. Like yeah. So it's cool. So like we've always been musical, you know what I mean? Like, and it was in my mom too. Like all my albums over here half of them are my mom's. Yeah. I have all the original Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelins.
That's how I got into it. My mom was a single mom, so I would like.
Yep, me too.
It was at work. I would go through all of her CDs.
Yeah.
And steal them, and they would end up mine. And that's how I learned to do music.
Do you know my mom, I love telling people this. I haven't told anybody this very often, and it's crazy that I forgot to. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. But I've always, my mom always, ever since I can remember, was always pushing me tapes. Mm-hmm. So like for Easter or for my birthday, it would be I'd get a couple things, and then she'd go, oh, here's AC/DC Back in Black. Like my mom bought, I remember my first couple cassette tapes, I can't remember which one was first, but it was I'm the DJ, he's the rapper, DJ Jazzy Jeff, French Prince. Mm-hmm. It was Beastie Boys, License to Ill, and it was Metallica, the Black Album. I remember her like giving me a couple of those tapes, and it was kind of cool. It was like, here, which one do you like? You know what I mean? And I was like, all of them. You know what I mean? So like, I was the kid in middle school that knew all the words, to Tribe Called Quest songs and Beastie Boys songs, but also was like, Rage Against the Machine and 9 Inch Nails are dope too. Yeah. So
I didn't get into hip hop until I was a little bit older. I was strictly like rock music when I was like, my first tape I got was in 2nd grade. I still remember this kid that I couldn't stand. I don't remember how it happened. He was his last day at the school, and he came up to me and he gave me a copied cassette tape, and it had the copy of the Nirvana Nevermind album. It was like completely copied. And the last 4 songs, so it went through the whole Nirvana album, and then there was 4 songs extra on it, and it was like 4 Metallica songs. Yeah. And so like that was my first thing that I ever got that was music. Cool. And my mom did not want me to have it because she's like, you know, it's a naked baby on the cover of Nirvana, and like some of the shit he talks about, she's just like, no. So there was a constant battle of her trying to take that cassette tape from me and me finding it and like hiding it. But yeah, I just remember.
I hate to admit it, but I always have to tell music friends, I have the disease where like I like so much music, but for some reason I don't like people like bands like Nirvana or like the Beatles.
See, I liked Nirvana until I moved. Like I was a huge Nirvana fan. That was what I got into. I had Kurt Cobain's diaries, I had all that shit. And then I worked in Aberdeen, where Kurt Cobain is from. Yeah. And I was like, well, I get Nirvana now. Like I get it. But when you live in the Pacific Northwest, that's all they fucking play on any radio is Alice in Chains, Nirvana. There's like all the music I loved, and I'm like, I need to get out of the Pacific Northwest so I can love this music again.
And I loved it at the time. I still will, you know, oh, how's Nirvana sound in my ears now? You know what I mean? Like I get it. It's still really good. The Beatles they're very good. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what it is. I'm just like, I'm cool.
There's just so much to listen to that, like, for me, the people, and I get, it drives me crazy when you hang out with people and they want to listen to the same shit over and over and over again.
Oh, I can't.
I have friends and I get into it with them all the time. I'm like, I'll put on a playlist and I'll literally just get the control of the playlist. It'll have maybe one song that's like not a song they want. They're like, can you put on this? Like, I just put this shit on. Like, 3 minutes.
I feel like you're similar to me, that you go in like weekly genres.
Yeah, I just listen to what I'm feeling.
I will listen. So like so you know, I've been editing a lot more, and oh my god, and like doing my own production shit. And so like just the last maybe 2 weeks, I'm listening to that, you know, jazz, hip hop, and discovering some things and rediscovering some things. You know, get into some rabbit holes. But now I just realized today, because I was starting to come up with some ideas about a fun little thing. But like I started listening again to my funk playlist. You know, like there's so much funk I love.
I love funk.
Just whatever. Have you ever heard of Tower of Power?
No.
Go look up Tower of Power. It's literally 10 dudes in a band, just like 10 40-year-old black dads in a band,
jamming out,
all playing instruments. It's so good.
I just got into Bootsy Collins recently.
Oh,
I never heard of Bootsy, and just got into Bootsy Collins. Yeah, so that's dope. I'm a big fan of all that stuff. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you too long. I mean, I could go for like another hour. This is awesome.
I know.
So
this is cool.
You're welcome back anytime. But why don't you let everybody know, like, your social media, where they can see the special, all that stuff.
Yeah, as long as you spell my name right, then everybody can find me on social media at Aaron Kleiber. Okay. My Amazon special, Grown Ass Dad, could also listen on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes. Friday night.
Super funny. Watch it.
Thanks.
I'm a fan now. You know, I'm not gonna lie and be like, I was on your train since day one. That first interaction we had was the first time I met you, and I immediately went and watched it, and I laughed a lot more than I've laughed for recent specials. So
good, thanks, man. Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
but awesome. And I'm doing my podcast, Grown Dad Business. Grown Dad Business is anywhere you can find podcasts. And my Friday night happy hour on Facebook and YouTube. I'm just trying to, it's like, live with me. I don't know. I bring in special guests, and
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's just cut up. It's just I sit here and drink and bring in comedian friends. And if you like music, my friend Kid Mental, he does. He's a beatboxer, and he's a beat looper.
Oh, nice.
He loops his own beatboxing. He does a lot of music for my podcast, and he performs like live every Friday night on my show. Kind of opens the show, and it's just him beatboxing.
And where they just look up your name and they can find that.
If you find Aaron Kleiber on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see my live show ready to play.
I'll put all your info and stuff in the show notes. This episode will be out next Tuesday, so it'll come out.
Cool.
And it should be on YouTube the same day. So
cool. Yeah.
Aaron, thanks again for coming out. Is there anything else you want to plug before we're done?
I mean, that's it. I got so many things. I got so many.
Well, we'll definitely have to do this again. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks again for
thank you, brother.
Thank
you, man. Fun times.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I'm definitely looking forward to being a dad. And you're special, definitely.
You'll be all right. You're gonna have to sell some of that shit in the background to make it.
That's what this stuff's here for. This stuff is actually my stuff, but I have if you can't see on the other side, this is the selling table. So I've been out of work since November, and I was like, I can't get another job. I fucking hate working for people. So I've just been grinding, and my little eBay store is finally taken off. So I'm like, I got my side hustle.
After my second kid, man, I sold like a couple grand worth of stuff on eBay.
Yeah. All the stuff I have, I'm like, this stuff's not worth anything. The stuff I'm selling is worth a lot more. But shit's not. Like my wife
have fun, brother.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on. And
all right, man.
Aaron, thanks again.
Thank you, man.
Take care.